Wolfsbane's been out for a few days now, and I've been really enjoying it on my Warlock, but I wanted to put together some builds for the Titan and Hunters out there too. So today we'll do the Titan, and although I'm about as rusty as I can be on this class, I think I've cooked up something pretty nice. Wolfsbane is really fitting for Titans, being the most close quarters melee-centric class, and you've got a lot of different ways you could go about it, but there's two exotics I focused on, which were Path of Burning Steps and Abeyant Leap. Both are great choices, and while I do have a favorite, I wanted to talk about both. Path is really similar to my Mantle build, with both exotics being centered around buffing your solar weapon damage and incorporating restoration in for survivability. While Path has a bit more things to juggle than Mantle does, once it gets rolling, it's a total blast to be dropping sunspots and nano swarms all over the battlefield, laying waste to everything in sight. The reason it's a bit to juggle is because in order to get stacks of Roaring Flames, you need to get ability kills, meaning you'll have to either occasionally swap off of Wolfsbane so you can bonk a goblin or two, or focus on your grenade regeneration so you can toss them out between your swings. Fortunately, Wolfsbane generates a lot of orbs, especially if you use the Attrition Orbs catalyst, so with a 100 grenade stat and an Innervation mod, you can usually make up a grenade before the timer runs out. While this is a bit harder to use than Mantle, where all you have to do is slay out, I think it's really fun to weave those abilities into your gameplay, and it feels really cool when you start flowing between all your weapons and abilities, running through sunspots, slamming down nano swarms, and sticking enemies with fusions. Once Burning Ambition's available as a catalyst, this might ease up a bit though, since you can refresh Roaring Flames with ignition kills, so depending on how quickly Wolfsbane can cause one, you might not need to swap weapons as much. For this build's fragments, I wanted to focus on maintaining my survivability options while slaying out with Wolfsbane, so I used Ember of Tempering for the increased health on solar weapon kills, as well as to generate fire sprites, so with Ember of Mercy, I could refresh my restoration timer alongside Ember of Empyrean. Finally, Ember of Solace increases restoration's timer from 10 to 15 seconds at max, which will give you more time to move between crowds of enemies. For the armor set, I think Bushido is the way to go to get that extra damage resistance and a bit of healing as you rotate through your weapons, but if you wanted to focus more on healing specifically, you could do the Lustrous set if you have it, or you could use the Collective Psyche set to swap out Ember of Solace for something like Ember of Resolve. The armor mods I think are worth noting would be Lucent Blades to help with Wolfsbane's charge time, as well as Solar Surges since you can stack the surges on top of the buff from Path. For the artifact mod, Radiant Shrapnel is great to add in some Scorch, and Elemental Overdrive is a good alternative to get a little extra damage when you're picking up fire sprites. Iron Lord's Vigor is a must-have though, getting you extra damage resistance when wielding a sword, as well as regenerating ammo on rapid kills. I think this build is a lot of fun, and I'm a huge sucker for solar, so it feels right up my alley. Having the damage resistance from Iron Lord's Vigor and Bushido while paired with Restoration means you can stand your ground in most situations, and Wolfsbane regenerates so much ammo you can essentially use it as a primary weapon. As I mentioned, I think it's really cool that you have to use all your abilities and rotate between things, so you don't just have to solely rely on Wolfsbane, but when you're all stacked up and it's time to throw down, it's absolutely devastating. This does, however, bring us to my second option of Abeyant Leap and Banner of War. Banner of War on its own has long been one of the single best aspects in the game, providing fantastic all-around benefits to everything from damage output to ability regen and survivability. It's also, most importantly here, dead simple to use. All that's required for Banner of War to function is getting a single melee kill, then any kind of kill afterwards will increase your banner. Since Wolfsbane's a sword, Banner pairs perfectly with it, so the gaps between your healing pulses on your banner get filled by the healing from Wolfsbane's nanites, jacking up the already fantastic survivability. On top of that, building around suspensions with Abeyant Leap, you can take advantage of Thread of Wisdom and Thread of Warding to constantly generate orbs and have 100% uptime on Woven Mail. With everything combined, you get a massive increase to your sword damage, some of the best possible healing in the game, huge damage resistance with Woven Mail, Bushido, and Iron Lord's Vigor, amazing crowd control with suspensions, and non-stop orbs for super and ability generation. By all accounts, this build is the best of every world, and I think it's far easier to use than Path is, while also dealing more damage. I crunched all the numbers, but not to bore you, here's two tables showing all the different buff combinations that each build can take advantage of, based on a light attack doing 378 damage at base. At their maximum buff stacks, the Path build did 742 damage each light attack for a 96% increase, and the Banner build did 795 each hit for a 110% increase. I think these numbers are really interesting since both are obviously really high and both builds have benefits and negatives, but I think in the end it just proves that they're both equally as good. I personally really like running Strand, and I find it a lot of fun to use Abeyant Leap to cause suspensions, but I also think it's really cool to synergize all those solar abilities together with Path. While the healing and damage boost is a lot easier to maintain with Banner, it's a lot faster to get back up to maximum effect with Path and Restoration if you're to ever lose your buffs. With that being said, if I had to choose one, I would definitely go with the Abeyant Leap Banner of War build. The damage and ease of use are insane, and the survivability from Woven Mail and Banner makes it so easy to just run around absolutely dusting everything. When you add in suspensions, it turns both your offense and defense up to 11. Strand Titan is one of my favorite subclasses in the whole game, and this build feels like an absolutely perfect fit. There's a few extra details for the build that makes it click, so to go over them quickly, alongside Banner of War, you'll want to use Drenger's Lash as your other aspect so you can suspend off of your barricades and get Woven Mail while doing so. For fragments, Thread of Wisdom will spawn orbs when you kill those suspended targets, which, paired with Thread of Warding, you can activate or refresh your Woven Mail timer. Thread of Mind is a must-have so you can have constant uptime on your barricades so you can suspend on demand, and I also like using a Shackle Grenade as a backup option to suspend, so Thread of Generation helps to keep those stocked. I have the same recommendations for armor sets on this build as I did on Path, but I ended up leaning towards the Lustrous armor set since I felt my damage resistance was already high enough with Woven Mail, and I just wanted that extra more consistent healing. Finally, on the artifact mod, I highly recommend Tangled Web since you can get another source of suspensions by getting powered melee kills. Cauterized Darkness is also perfect to deal extra damage with Wolfsbane to suspend targets, and Tightly Woven will help with even more class and grenade regen. Finally, Fever and Chill is a must-have since while it says it activates on precision hits, it also activates on rapid kills with non-precision weapons, including Wolfsbane. As you can see here, scoring 3 rapid kills activates Radiant, which is fantastic. This build is absolutely insane, and I can't stress enough just how fun it is. It really feels like Wolfsbane was designed for this specific kind of build, and combined with so many perfect artifact mods, it's honestly up there for one of my favorite builds I've run all season. It's going to be pretty hard after this to avoid getting bit by the Titan bug, and I hope if you try either of these builds, you enjoy them as much as I did. There's dim links down below for both of these builds if you want to try them out, or if you want to use them as a base for your own spin on it. The Hunter build's up next, so subscribe to the channel to keep an eye out for that video soon, and thank you very much for watching.